Welcome to another weekly Winedown.
Cheers.
We're in Kitchen Table in the Dominican Republic, and we're drinking two different types of wine tonight.
Another cocktail edition. Justin has sangria.
I have a sangria that does have red wine in it, and it is a Merlot that is in mine.
And I am drinking a Cabernet.
But your Cabernet is from España,
Yes.
and my Merlot is from the DR. So it's pretty much red water.
With sugar.
That is true.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So today,
It's actually an extension of last week's.
which was an extension of the week before. So we are talking about anabolic energy today. Last week we talked about catabolic energy and strategies of how to help raise yourself out of that catabolic energy. Now today we're going to be focusing on the more anabolic energy, which is a reminder, is the less stress-related energy. So,
Parasympathetic.
yes, exactly. So think of it, when you're in a normal state, right? We're sitting here having dinner. We're both in an anabolic state right now, enjoying our wine, enjoying our vacation. We have an entire environment around us to set us up to be in an anabolic state. Now we really want to dive into, we talked about levels 1 and 2 last week. We want to talk about levels 3 through 7 this week. So when you think about anabolic energy, there's a bunch of different types of energies that can be associated with anabolic. So let's start with level 3. Level 3 is kind of a mix between both catabolic and anabolic. I think of it as kind of rationalizing your situation. So for example, let's say, you're out to dinner and you don't like what you were served. You don't like the food that you have. Instead of practicing gratitude or whatever it would be, it's just kind of like, it is what it is. Ugh, I just have to make do.
So it's a very low resonating positive energy.
Exactly. It's the finding the silver lining in things, really finding a way to just kind of get by.
Yep.
So that you can still show up, you can still perform. Key note is that it's not sustainable. Oftentimes when you're in level 3, there is an end point, because you really have to address what's going on in that catabolic state in order to rise above those levels. So let's talk about level 4. Justin is very high in level 4. Level 4 is what I call service energy. Service energy, a lot of parents tend to live in this type of energy. It's putting others ahead of yourself. So it doesn't really matter how much you may suffer, but at the end of the day, as long as those that you love or those that you're trying to show up for are succeeding, that's really what matters to you. So oftentimes if a parent feels stretched to the max, but they have to run around like crazy to show up at their job, but then for all those people at their job, but then also show up for their kids at this practice, or and then show up for mom because mom isn't feeling great and something's happening in her life, and then show up for your friend because your friend is suffering or going through a divorce, and then showing up for the PTA meeting. The biggest thing about level 4 is setting boundaries. You want to talk about level 5? Win-win. I know this is one of your favorites.
Yeah, so within win-win and in that level 5 energy, it's seeing a situation where it works for me, but it also works for Elise.
Opportunistic. Highly opportunistic.
And making sure that both situations, people are winning, and that there is no loser, there is no negativity. And so a lot of times what we find here is there's a lot of compromise that goes on, where you understand that, hey, I know that I want this out of it, and you know that you want this out of it. We'll find somewhere in the middle, and it's going to be a win-win, and it's going to be great for everybody. And so then level 6
and 7 are very similar, and we'll dive into those deeper another time, but level 6 and 7 are really the highest levels of consciousness and the lowest levels of judgment. So oftentimes level 6 and 7 is really when you're in that flow. When you're in the middle of something and you're like, oh, whoa, I didn't even realize 2 hours just went by. Meditation oftentimes can be that level 7, using to access a higher power that exists. And this is really an ultimate goal, is to figure out how to access level 6 and 7 more, because that's where the highest level of consciousness is.
And so if you start to understand what Elise and I have been talking about over the last 3 sessions, parasympathetic versus sympathetic nervous system, anabolic and catabolic energies, you notice that in both items, outer energy being the parasympathetic and sympathetic, inner energies
catabolic and anabolic.
It's a spectrum. you're always going to resonate along some different points, and it's going to serve you in some ways greater than others. So the key is being aware as to when it serves you and when it serves against you.
Absolutely.
And being able to tap into those and having the strategies, the systems, and awareness in place to do so in an optimal way.
Because again, we talk about this a lot, but the key point is that you are at choice. You are at choice to decide how you want to move forward.
So with that, guys, remember, parasympathetic, sympathetic, anabolic, catabolic, they all serve you in their own unique way, but we need to make sure that you can do it as an individual so you can perform at your best, optimally, sustainably, long term.
Go own it. Cheers.
Go own it.